My name is Alex Reiser. I'm the son of Stefanie Reiser. We're seated here in our barn located in Pleasant Valley, Maryland in Washington County. This region has been used for farmland for pretty much since colonists arrived on the land, and it's been used for tobacco, corn and soy, and dairy farming for the last 300, 400 years. One of the things we do know about the history of this barn is that it was at one point the largest barn in the county.
The original owner of this property was Zachariah Claggett, and he was a prominent physician, and he was granted a 400-acre land grant in 1820.
We know the house was built at that time. We don't know the exact date of the barn, but we suppose that it's roughly or maybe possibly a little bit older than the house. The Civil War campaign had a few battles in this region. This barn was probably used to house troops, or probably was used as a hospital as well. We've been looking for artifacts around. We haven't found any yet, but I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff in this land.
The condition of the structure was actually, to the naked eye, it still looked pretty impressive. It was a big, beautiful barn. It was bright red, but when you started to look closely, you could see where the age was failing.
The lower stone wall below us was moving inward quite severely. We knew that if we didn't do anything to it, it would fall down at some point, and then we would have a more substantial problem on our hands. You lose a building like this, and you're losing something that you really can't ever get back.
We didn't want to be the people that this beautiful, historic, significant building crumbled on our watch.
So we started to look into the restoration process.
I have a background in real estate development, and I have been doing a number of larger projects in Washington, D.C., but I had no idea where to start with a structure like this and with a barn. So I was actually joking with my son one day. He kind of quipped, he goes, "Well, you need to find some Amish guys. Like, the Amish know about barns." I'm like, well, that sounds like a stereotype. But then we got referred to Stable Hollow, and in fact, it really was drawing on this rich legacy and heritage of working with these buildings. When I went to the website and I saw all the work that had been done and the obvious reverence that was brought to the work and the buildings, I knew that this was a company I needed to talk to. Every single person on the crew was so invested in the project and brought so much care and love to it. It really showed in the workmanship.
We wanted somebody that was going to come in here, take care of the barn the way that it deserved to be taken care of, and to preserve the sort of authenticity of the barn. We didn't want like a complete, stripped down and rebuild modern barn to get put up. We really wanted to preserve the character of the building, and Stable Hollow seemed like a great choice for that.
We learned so much by having Stable Hollow restore the structure. They were able to point out to us really interesting things about the barn. Some of the building elements that we discovered from a log cabin, and it had burned. And that was really interesting to learn because we had completely overlooked that. Like, we hadn't noticed it. And then it was really interesting to think about, okay, who lived in that building before? How did it burn? And why did they use the material again? And I think just the overall knowledge of these barns and how they were built and constructed and how they were maintained and their usage in farming, those were some of the things we were able to learn working with Stable Hollow.
The barn really is like a sort of nucleus of the farm. It's located pretty much right in the center, and it's probably the most recognizable building on the property.
We're using the barn currently in the business that we've been developing. When we bought the farm, we really didn't have this plan, but I knew that we needed to bring this farm back to life. And in 2019, we decided to go forward with hemp. So we've been using it as part of that business. We've got all of our equipment stored in the lower level. At the end of the season, this becomes Operation Central for all of the harvest.
It's a great space for hosting events. I think you could do weddings in this barn. I think, we've shown that we can do our harvest party every year in this barn. It's great for that. We've even talked about setting up a little stage over on that end and using this as a music venue in the future as well. So I think it's got a lot of life ahead of it, and not just as an agricultural building. It's got a lot of room. It's an interesting space to be in. People love the building. I really like how pretty much this whole front face of the barn can open up. When you open all of the doors up and have the doors on the opposite wall with the sort of view and balcony out, it's a really nice place to spend an afternoon.